When we left off yesterday, Ezra had mourned, had cried, had prayed because the Jews were marrying foreign wives, and he was scared of them influencing their behaviors and scared that a repetition of the first temple would happen again, with the Jewish people being sent into exile. And we continue now, chapter 10. Ukihit palel Ezra, ukitva do, ukihitva do to, bocheo mitnapel lifnei beit Elohim, nikbetzu elav miYisrael kal rav ma'od anashim v'nashim viladim ki vachu ha'am harbe veche. Ezra was praying and confessing and weeping and prostrating himself before the house of God. And as I said yesterday, at some point, it seems that he turns from his turning and mourning and praying to God to praying in a way that everybody else should get the message. A great crowd of Israelites gathered about him, men and women and children, and they joined him in crying. Vaya'an Shechanya ben Yechiel mibnei Elam, and Shechanya, the son of Yechiel, of the children of Elam, Vayomer le'Ezra anachnu ma'alnu ve'Elohenu, va'noshev nashim nechurot me'amei haaretz v'ata yesh mikveh liYisrael alzot. And he said, we sinned against God by bringing foreign wives into our homes from the people of their land, but there still is a hope for Israel despite this. You could play up on words here, right? Mikveh, by the way, kaveh, lekavot means a hope. There's still hope. A mikveh is a hope. You could say what should have been done, or as we'll see the chapters, use the mikveh. Yesh mikveh Yisrael. Use the mikveh. Convert them. You know, that would be an interesting and a drasha to use. That's not what's going to be said here in this chapter. V'ata nichrat brit le'Eloheinu. We will make a covenant with God, and we will expel all these women who are not part of our tribe, according to the law of God, as was commanded to us. Let all of God's Torah, let all his teaching be obeyed. Kum ki alecha davar v'anachnu imach. Chazak ve'aseh. Take action, for the responsibility is yours, and we are with you. Act with strength. Have some resolve. And presumably, why they say it's him is either they say we're with you, we agree with you, we're willing to do it. But Ezra has been given has been given permission by Artaxerxes to lead religious affairs and sort of be the lawmaker for the Jewish community in Jerusalem and in the areas. So what happens? Pasuk Hey, Vayakam Ezra Vayishba et Sarei HaKohanim HaLevim v'chol Yisrael asok kadavar hazeh vayishavu. So vayishaveu. Ezra once made them swear an oath to act accordingly, and they took the oath. Vayakam Ezra milifnei beit Elohim vayelech el lishkat Yehochanan ben Eliashiv vayelech sham lechem lo achal umayim lo shata ki mitabel al ma'al hagola. Ezra rose from his place in front of the house of God and came to the chamber of Yehochanan, the son of Eliashiv, and he ate no bread, he drank no water. He was mourning because of the ma'al, because of the sins of the Gola. And you know, it's just to think about, this is what happens from the Gola. You're in a place of exile, and when you're in exile, sins are going to happen more than they would when you are in a place that is fully Jewish. You could, of course, argue that you'll become too close-minded, you won't have a greater sense of being part of the world, etc., etc. Obviously, every atmosphere situation has its risks. Vayaviru kol bihuda, we're in Pasuk Zayin, verse 7, Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim lechol bnei hagola likabeit Yerushalayim. A proclamation was issued in Jerusalem that all who had returned from exile should assemble in Jerusalem. Right, this is not being told, to the people who were in Babylon, thousands of miles away. Anyone who did not return would, by the decision and the force of the officers and the elders, have his property confiscated and would be exiled, in a sense, from the congregation of the returning exiles. So in that 3-day time, all the people of Yehuda and Binyamin, we've said this, and you know this, the 10 tribes exiled. So we don't have Yisachar and Zvulun and Dan, right? We only have people from Yehuda, Binyamin, and from the tribe of Levi, and it is the 20th day of the 9th month. So the 20th day of the 9th month. It's getting to be. It's around now. It's summer months, and all the people are there, and it's terrible weather. There's rain, and it must be a very strong rain, and all the people are scared. And Ezra got up and he said, "You have trespassed by bringing home foreign women, and you've made the guilt of Israel even worse than it was. So now come and confess." Okay? Now you could say Tnu Todah, you could understand as being give thanks to God. Look what God has done for you. All right. The other translation, Todah, here, they're saying a little like hit vadu from the word for vidui. But you could understand this as also being, right, bring a sacrifice, but also sacrifice thanksgiving. Thank God for what God has done for you to keep us as a Jewish nation, as a Jewish people, not just to be swallowed up and lose our identity. And now separate yourself from the people of the land, from the foreign women. Vayanu cholakal in verse 12, pasuk Yud Bet, vayamru kol gadol kain kidvarcha aleinu la'asot. The entire congregation responded loudly, "We will surely do as you say." Aval ha'am rav va'et gishamin v'ein koach la'amod bachutz v'amlacha lo liyom echad v'lo l'shnayim ki herbinu livshoa b'davar hazeh. However, there were many people. It was the rainy season, and it wasn't possible to remain out in the open, nor is this the work of a day or two, because we have transgressed extensively in this manner. Right? We can't, right? The separation is not going to happen in 1 second. It's not so simple. These are still our wives. They're still our children. Yamdu nasareinu l'chol kahal, v'chol asher be'areinu, hahoshiv nashim nachrod, yavo li'tim mezumanim, let our officers remain on behalf of the entire congregation. All our townspeople have brought home foreign women shall appear before them at scheduled times together with the elders of the judges in each town in order to avert the anger of God for us on this account. So they want to do it slowly. They want to take the time in doing it. So question is this an excuse? Is this, it's not so simple asking them what is being asked of them to just get rid of the wives. So let's see. Pasuk Tetvav. Ach Yonatan ben Asael v'Yechizkiah ben Tikva amdu al zot u'mushulam v'Shabtai halevi azarum. But only Yonatan, son of Ashael, and the son of Yechizkiah, the son of Tikva, remained for this purpose, assisted by Meshulam and Shabtai, the Levites. Right, they were the ones who were going to remain to discuss this, etc. So the returning exiles did so, and Ezra and the men who were the chiefs of the clans, all listed by name, they remained on the first day of the 10th month to study the matter. And they gave them 2 months. 2 months time from the 10th month, 3 months time, till they had the 10th month and the 11th month and the 12th month, and the first day of the first month, we call the first day of Nisan, they would have to be done. Right, so by the first day of the first month, they were done with all the men who had brought home foreign wives. Now we're going to have a list of the people. Among the priestly families were family of Yeshua and the family and his brothers. El Tzon al Ashmatam, they gave the word to expel their wives, and acknowledging their guilt, offered an offering. Umnei Imer, Hanani Uzvaja, and from that family, Umnei Charim, Maseya ve'Eliyahu, Shmaya v'Yechiel v'Uzziah, some of the other people's names, Umibnei Pashhur, Eliyo Einai, Maseya, Yishmael, Netanel, Yozavad ve'Elasa, right, the sons of Pashhur, and their names, Minal Leviim, so we go from now Kohanim to Leviim, Yozavad v'Shim'i v'Kelayahu, Klita, Petachia, Yehuda, Eliezer, name of different Levis, Umin HaShorim, and amongst the singers, Eliashiv, Umin HaSheorim, Shalom, V'Telem, V'Uri, and of the gatekeepers, Shalom, and Telem, and Uri, Israel, Mibnei Parosh, Ramya, V'Yizyahu, Malkiyahu, Miyamin, Ve'Elazar, Malchiyahu, V'Naya. So those were the sons of Parosh, Ubnei Elam, Metanya, Zechariah, V'Chiel, V'Avdi, V'Ramot, V'Eliyah. So the sons of Elam, Ubnei Zatu, Elio, Nai, Eliashiv, Matanya, V'Ramot, Uzvad, V'Azizah. The sons of Zatu were those who named Ubnei Bevai, Yochanan, Chananya, Zabai, Atlai, Ubnei Bani, Mishulam, Maluch, V'Adaya, Yashuv, Usha'al, Viramut. So these are from the family of Bani, those who had the foreign wives and got rid of them. Bnei Pachat Moab, Adna, Chlal, Banea, Masaya, Matanya, Bitzalel, Uvinui, Umenashe, the sons of Patach, Moab, and here are their names. Uvnei Charim, Eliezer, Yeshia, Malkiah, Shemaiah, Shimon, the sons of Charim, Binyamin, Maloch, Shamaria, also Binyamin, also those three kids, Bnei Chashum, Matnai, Matata, Zavad, Eliphelet, Yiremai, Menashe, Shim'i, Mibnei Vani, Ma'adai, Amram, Ve'uel, the sons of Bani, we hear their names, Benaya, Vediah, Kiluuhu, also Benaya, Bedeh, Kuluya, Ve'niya, Miremot, Eliashiv, we're in verse 37, Matanya, Matnai, Via Asai, another Matanya, another Matanai, Uvnei Uvinui, Shim'i, a third Shimi, Vishalemiah, Vinatan, Va'adaya, Shalmiah, Natan, Adaya. I mentioned the other day how many of the names have the word Natan given in it earlier in this book. Machnedevai, Shashai, Sharai, as we're in verse 41, Azrael, Vishalmiyahu, Shemaria, Shalom, Amaria, Yosef, Mibnei Nevo, Yiel, Matachia, Zavad, Zvina, Yadaiv, Yoel, Binaya, Kol Ela, verse Pasuk 44, Nasu Nashim Necharot, V'yesh Mehem Nashim, Yasimu Banim. All those had married foreign women, amongst whom were some of the women had born children. So we have here a very complex situation, right? They had foreign women, and the order that was given was for them to get rid of these foreign women. And in the way we look at the world, it seems very difficult, a very difficult thing to do. And, I sort of pointed out that irony of the word mikveh that's used earlier in the chapter. Why they just go to the mikveh? But the Jewish people were very, very concerned. This is, feminist commentaries have written about that, right? This is a male-centered institutional power world. It leaves out the voices of women and children. There's a backdrop here, which is the national trauma of exile, of destruction, of assimilation, and what we're trying to do to preserve the Jewish people. And to do so, we can't really have outsiders come in. And so ultimately, it's a fascinating chapter. And something that's really interesting to me about just generally the book of Ezra, I don't know if this is purposeful, but in many ways, to me, this book represents sort of the Haredi outlook on life. It talks about people who are Hared. It talks about talks about people who are in the service of the Mikdash and other things, and then that talks to them as being Bnei Chayil, as being almost like they're soldiers, and that's their job, and the very clear distinction between Jew and Gentile, and the refusal of having any mixture as possible. Obviously, it's not such a simple thing, but to me, it's not so foreign from that sort of mentality. And obviously, the backdrop to this book is this idea. What we see is Ezra's called a sofer. Ezra's reading to them. They don't know what's going on. They've returned, and these are new returnees, but the people who have returned, not very knowledgeable. The Beit HaMikdash is fledgling. It doesn't have great strength. It doesn't have great religious life. It doesn't. And so when Ezra comes back, he meets a crowd who have come back, and the people who come back with him, but they're not in a great situation. And what Ezra is attempting to do is to really bring them back to their roots. And really, I think it's a interesting thing to think about, that this book is informed by the backdrop, by the national trauma, by the worry of this happening again. And thus, right? This is the way of the world. When you feel like you were too much at an extreme, right? You have to go to the other end, as the Rambam says, Shmona Prakim, the Shvila Zahav, the golden road, the middle road. But to get from places of idolatry and immorality, so we have to go all the way, almost to like the other side, to asceticism, to protectionism, to really push ourselves all the way to the corner. And then maybe over time we'll make it back to a healthy medium. That's what Ezra wants here. And one last thing, and this is right. This is an amazing book that really talks about the returns, the troubles of the returns, and of course has many of the questions that we that seem almost in very much ways relevant today. What happens when you have a native population who is living in a place, and the Jews return to their land and want to build their temple, and how do we negotiate our needs, our communal needs, and the needs of those who are living in the land and the country at that time? And history repeats itself, and a fascinating book to read through the contemporary lens. We say chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek on the short book. And Hadran Alach, we finish the book of Ezra, and we will move on just about 13, 14 years later to his contemporary, Nehemiah, who we will start his book come Monday.